let me paint you a picture of what freedom actually looks like. Not the version where you finally fix him and he transforms into the partner you've always knew he could be or she could be. Not the fantasy where your patience pays off and he finally or she finally becomes emotionally available. Not the dream where your love is finally enough to heal him. Real freedom. The kind where you stop trying to fix broken men or women and start choosing whole ones. The kind where you date reality instead of potential. The kind where you're loved or you're loved freely instead of having to earn it through service. And this is what becomes possible when you finally stop trying to fix broken men or women and start choosing people who are already doing their own work. So let me share what becomes possible when you finally stop trying to fix broken men or women, that is. Imagine if Summer Walker's incredible capacity for love transformed from a tool for fixing unavailable men into the foundation for a partnership with someone who's ready for her. If her loyalty became about building with someone who matches her energy instead of staying with someone who can't. If she discovered that being with someone whole is far more fulfilling than trying to make someone whole. This shift wouldn't erase her compassion or her capacity to love deeply, but it would transform it into something sustainable, something that builds her up instead of exhausting her, something that results in actual partnership instead of one-sided emotional labor. The same possibility awaits you as well. When you break free from the I can fix him or her delusion, when you stop dating potential and start dating reality, when you choose people who are already whole instead of projects you're trying to complete, your entire experience of relationship transforms. You stop exhausting yourself, stop trying to love people into healing. You stop putting your life on hold, waiting for someone to finally be ready. You stop wondering why your love isn't enough, and you start experiencing what real partnership actually feels like. What it's like to be with someone who's doing their own work. What it's like to be loved freely instead of having to earn it. What it's like to build with someone instead of trying to fix them. Think about what this might look like in your actual life. Imagine being with someone for 6 months. Let's say you're with someone for 6 months and not once having to manage their emotions, not once having to be their therapist, not once having to convince them to do the work of healing, because they're already doing it on their own for themselves. Imagine being in a relationship where your energy goes towards building a life together instead of trying to make them emotionally available, where you're planning a future instead of waiting for them to be ready for one. Imagine being loved by someone who just sees your worth without you having to prove it, who values you for who you are, not for what you can fix for them, who shows up consistently because they want to, not because you've earned it through endless patience. Imagine the relief of not being responsible for someone else's healing. The peace of not carrying someone else's emotional work. The freedom of being with someone who's ready for you instead of someone you're trying to make ready. This is what becomes possible when you break free from the I can fix him or her pattern. For those who've been exhausting themselves trying to fix broken men and women, you stop choosing projects and you start choosing partners. That's what happens. You stop being attracted to potential and start requiring reality. You start staying, or you stop staying with people who aren't, ready, and start walking away when someone shows you that they can't meet you where you are. You start recognizing the signs early. The person who talks about working on themselves but never actually doing the work. The person who has endless potential but zero action. The person who keeps promising to change but stays exactly the same. And instead of staying, hoping, trying to help, you walk away. not with anger or resentment, but with clarity. With the understanding that their healing is not your responsibility, that you deserve someone who's already doing the work, not someone you're trying to convince to start. You stop feeling guilty as well for having standards. You stop believing that real love means staying with someone who's not ready. You stop confusing patience with enabling. You start building with people who are already whole, who are in therapy, who take responsibility for their patterns, who show up consistently because they've done the work. They've done the work to become someone capable of partnership. And you discover that being with someone who's already healed is not boring. It's peaceful. That partnership with someone who's ready is not less passionate. It's more fulfilling. That love that requires, or that love that doesn't require you to exhaust yourself, earning it, is not less real. It's more sustainable. And what happens is you stop making, you stop mistaking chaos for connection. You stop believing you have to work hard to deserve love. You stop choosing people who make you prove your worth, and you start experiencing what it's like to be loved freely, to be valued simply for just being who you are. To be in a relationship where your worth is recognized and not earned. And this doesn't mean you'll never feel compassion for broken people. It doesn't mean you'll never see someone's potential. It doesn't mean you'll become cold or uncaring. It just means that you'll have boundaries. You can see someone's potential and still walk away. If they're not doing the work, you can have compassion for their struggle and still refuse to exhaust yourself trying to fix them. You can still care about them and still prioritize your own well-being. This is the path beyond the I can fix him delusion. Not a path where you stop caring about people's growth, but a path where you recognize that their growth is their responsibility, not yours, where you can support people who are doing their own work without doing the work for them, where you choose partners, not projects. And the truth is, the I can fix him pattern is just exhausting. For you, for the men you're trying to fix, for the women you're trying to fix, it's exhausting to constantly give more than you receive, to put your life on hold waiting for someone to be ready. Invest years into someone who stays exactly who they were when you met them. Just exhausting to be responsible for someone else's healing. Manage their emotions, to do their own work for them, or to do the work for them while their own needs or your own needs are, just go unmet. Exhausting to love potential instead of reality. To stay with someone who could become instead of walking away from who they are. To keep hoping that this time your love will finally be enough to make them change, but you don't have to stay exhausted. You could choose differently. You can stop choosing broken men or women and start choosing whole ones. You can stop dating potential and start dating reality. You can stop trying to earn love and start receiving it freely. You can recognize that your worth was never conditional on your ability to fix someone. That you deserve to be with someone who's already doing their own work. The real love doesn't require you to exhaust yourself, proving you're worthy of it. So this week, I want to challenge you to notice your patterns around fixing and choosing. Notice if you're attracted to someone's potential more than their reality. If you're staying with someone hoping they'll change instead of accepting who they are. And if you're doing emotional work for someone who should, be doing it for themselves, and then choose differently. If you meet someone who's clearly not ready, walk away. Even if you see their potential, even if you believe you could help them, even if they promise they'll change, walk away, because their healing is not your responsibility. And you deserve someone who's already doing their work or doing the work, not someone you're trying to convince to start. If you're currently with someone who's not ready, stop doing their emotional work for them. Stop managing their feelings. Stop being their therapist. Set a boundary. Tell them, I care about you. You know, I care about you. Of course I do. But your healing is your responsibility. I'm here to be your partner, not your rehabilitation center. You know, if you want to do the work, I'll support you, but I won't do it for you. And then see what they do. If they step up and actually start doing the work, great, brilliant. If they don't, walk away. Because you can't love someone into healing. We've established that. You can't fix someone who isn't doing the work to fix themselves. And staying with someone who's not ready just doesn't help them. It enables them. So remember, you're not a rehabilitation center for broken men or women. You know, your love is not a tool for fixing people. Your worth is not determined by your ability to transform someone who's unavailable into someone who's ready. You know, you deserve to be with someone who's already whole, someone who's done their own work, someone who shows up consistently, loves you freely, and values you without you having to prove your worth through service. Summer Walker is incredibly talented, beautiful, successful. She has so much to offer, but she keeps choosing men who just can't meet her where she is. Men who need fixing instead of men who are ready for partnership. And she ends up heartbroken, exhausted, posted about how tired she is of, you know, trying, never realizing the problem, you know, never realizing that the problem isn't that she's not, you know, trying hard enough. The problem is that she's trying to fix people who haven't committed to fixing themselves. You don't have to follow that path. You can choose differently. You can stop being attracted to broken men and start requiring whole ones. That's where real love lives, you know? That's where genuine partnership exists. That's where you finally stop exhausting yourself trying to earn love and start experiencing what it's like to receive it freely. The power was never in your ability to fix someone. It was always in your ability to recognize when someone isn't ready and to walk away. That's where your power lies, knowing that you deserve someone who is. You are worthy of love, not because you can fix broken men or women, not because you're patient enough to wait for someone to be ready, not because you can see their potential but no one else sees, or that no one else sees. You're worthy simply because you exist, and that worth doesn't need to be proven through service, earned through patience, or validated by successfully fixing someone. Stop trying to fix broken men or women. Stop choosing whole ones. Stop dating potential. Start dating reality. Stop exhausting yourself trying to earn love. Receiving it freely from someone who's ready to just kind of give it. Yeah. That's where your life actually begins. So as always, stay beautiful, stay connected, and stay conscious in the field.